If you could sign a document to change a single minute of your life, would you sign it without reading the fine print? Mateus found the Registry of Time on a morning when everything seemed to fit inside one sigh. His wife, Helena, had left early for chemotherapy. His daughter, Bea, had stuck a note on the fridge with a crooked heart and an "I love you" written in a hurry. And he, always a "I'll deal with it later" man, was staring at a pile of bills in the silence of the house. He wandered out with no destination and stopped in front of an old mansion downtown, squeezed between an optician and a cell phone case shop. On the facade, faded letters read, "Temporal Records Registry, 422. 422? He checked his watch. 422 wasn't a time, it was a splinter. It was the exact minute his father closed the door and never came back. The minute he swore to forget. The minute that, without noticing, taught Mateus to run away from everything that hurt and everything that mattered. He pushed the door. A bell rang like someone remembering a birthday. Inside, dust light danced in the window beam. Wooden counter, tall files, the smell of old paper and lukewarm coffee. Behind the counter, a woman with a bun and steady eyes, the kind you only get after seeing every version of the same mistake. "Good morning, Mr. Mateus. Minute rectification?" she asked. No form needed. Sorry, what?" "Here we register and rectify decisive minutes. You choose only one. We take you to it. Whatever can be adjusted by words, sincere regret, and an action still possible within time, is adjusted. What cannot be, remains." She slid a yellow form toward him. "By signing, you accept to remember both versions, the lived and the corrected. Price, one cherished memory, the kind that warms you when it's cold." Mateus laughed, nervous. "Is this a prank?" "It's bureaucracy, sir. Just with hope." He thought of Helena, of her fight. He thought of Bea, of her teenage habit of peeling his sentences like old paint. He thought of 422, and he realized that if he could trade one memory for another, he'd give anything not to have inherited his father's habit of leaving on the inside while still standing in the room. "Which memory will I lose?" he asked. "We don't choose. The registry takes what's needed to balance the scale." She pointed to the blank line. "Well?" He signed. The paper drank the ink like someone drinking thirst. The woman stamped a seal that sounded like a heart finding its tempo. "Through that door. Don't speak of the future. Don't try to be a hero. 1 minute, words fit inside a minute. Whole miracles rarely do." The door creaked, and Mateus entered a narrow corridor where pointerless clocks marked nothing with authority. At the end, another door. He opened it. The smell, the floor, the light unmistakable. His childhood living room. The TV on with no sound, backpack on the couch, father in a brown jacket, hand on the doorknob. 421. "Dad!" slipped out, thread thin. The man turned like someone recognizing an echo. Older in Mateus's memory, yet younger in the flesh. Deep shadows under his eyes, a tiredness Mateus had once confused with bad will. Who are you?" "A neighbor," Mateus lied badly. "Sorry to barge in. It's quick." 421 and 25. The minute had taken its first steps. "If it's about the electric bill, talk to my wife." "It's not about a bill. It's about staying." The word came heavy and tender. "I know you think leaving will ease the pain, that you're sparing everyone from your weakness, that starting over in another neighborhood, another life, will save what can still be saved. But the whole travels with you, and the ones who stay learn to dig too." His father frowned. "The world holds its breath when the truth tries to be born." "Look, friend, I don't..." He blinked, thrown. "How do you know?" 421 and 50. "Because I'm someone who grew up after this, and I spent years thinking being a man meant enduring in silence and walking out when it hurt. I almost repeated it with my family. Almost." Mateus took a step. "You love your boy. I know you do. But love without presence turns into a ghost. Stay. Get therapy at the clinic, at church group, with anyone. Ask your brother for help, your neighbor, someone who owes you nothing. Stay. And when you don't know what to say, I don't know, but I'll stay. 4:22. His father's hand trembled on the knob. A muscle jumped in his jaw, wrestling decades of pride inherited from men whose only version of strength was to dig their heels in. His eyes filled. The minute stretched like an elastic about to snap back. "If I stay, I'll ruin everything," he whispered. "If you go, you teach that to me." Mateus breathed, heart beating in the plural. "One day your son will need you, and you'll be here to get it wrong near him and get it right near him. Distance is what ruins us." His father closed the door. He didn't slam it, he just set it shut like apologizing to the air. "I don't know," he repeated, near tears. "But I'll stay." The minute gave the room its breath back. Color returned. The TV found its sound. Mateus wanted to hug his father and the boy he'd been, but time tugged his shirt like a mother calling from the gate. The corridor returned. The registry door waited with the politeness only old furniture has. On the other side, the clerk wrote in a thick book, "Rectification completed." She looked up. "How do you feel?" He waited for euphoria, for a movie scene, for the urge to run outside screaming, "I did it!" What came was a good silence, the unshouldering of a backpack he hadn't known he was carrying. Different. Hole in a place I'd forgotten was broken. Excellent. Another stamp. Remember, the price comes along. He smiled, not understanding. He stepped back into the city. Same and not. In the square, a man played the accordion, a song Mateus swore he'd never heard, yet he knew the lyrics. At the crosswalk, an old man in a brown jacket talked to a boy about trading cards. Their smiles matched. His father, older, present. A flash. A simple Christmas, a bad joke, an awkward hug. Another image. A small argument. A door that doesn't slam. A talk afterward. Both versions of life layered like transparencies. Mateus walked home lighter, inventing ways to tell Helena without sounding insane. He opened the door. The kettle whistled. The fridge displayed magnets he remembered, and others he didn't. In the center, a new photo. Bia in uniform between the two of them, Helena bald with a colorful headscarf. Everyone wearing smiles that didn't ask permission. He gripped the counter edge so joy's wind wouldn't carry him off. "Love?" Helena's voice came from the hall, soft and valiant. "I heard you were going to fix some things today. Did it work?" "It did," he said, and the word grew large enough to occupy a wall. "A lot." Bia wandered in from the kitchen with a glass of juice, one earbud still in, leaving room on purpose. She rolled her eyes lovingly. "Dad, help me with a writing prompt. Topic: the highest price of freedom." He froze. The price. He remembered the warning. The registry takes a cherished memory. He searched for their boy's first day of school outfit, the smell of Helena on their wedding day, the moment Bia learned to ride a bike. Everything was still there, like frames in a hall. What was gone? "Sure, kid," he said, sitting. "What did you write?" "That sometimes being free is just a pretty excuse to run. That the most expensive freedom is to stay when you want to sprint away." She smiled, proud. "I learned that from you two." He breathed deep, grateful he'd stayed long enough to deserve that sentence. After dinner, while Bia studied and Helena browsed bright head wraps online, Mateus opened the memory drawer. Cards, tickets, notes, all there. One folded paper caught his eye, Bia's note with the crooked heart. But something was missing he couldn't name. A Sunday song, a dance in the living room, a specific laugh, a thread of light. The clerk had said, "We take what's needed." Maybe the registry had taken a consolation memory to make room for memories of courage. He smiled at destiny's strange arithmetic. The next week, Mateus returned to the registry, not to patch anything else. The form said 1 minute per taxpayer, but to say thanks. The door was locked. A handwritten sign on the glass, open only at 4:22. He checked his watch. 4:21. He waited. The bell rang. Inside, the same light, same counter, same woman. "I came to say thank you," he said, "and to ask a question. Whether it was real. Whether there's a way to pay it forward." She smiled. "You already are." She slid a stamp across the counter. "This is a presence seal. Use it when someone around you is about to repeat your old escape. A message, a visit, and I'll stay. Works better than speeches." He tucked the stamp into his wallet like a saint's image. And he began to use it, with the friend who wanted to disappear for a few months, because his marriage had turned to stone. Mateus brought soup, brought listening, brought silence. With his sister, who thought of dropping out 2 semesters short, he sat with her in the library until the lights flickered. With his daughter, who one night cried over a love that seemed to eat her chest, he sat on the edge of her bed and said the sentence inherited from the corrected minute, "I don't know, but I'll stay." And he stayed. On her hardest afternoons, Helena said healing had everything to do with people who donned to leave when we turned to dessert. Bea painted on canvas the phrase, "Distance ruins," and hung it in the living room between bright plants and dog-eared books. His father, began calling on Thursdays to tell terrible jokes and ask for recipes he'd never make. And Mateus realized he had learned to love that man for the present version, not only for the wound. A year later, the day the doctor walked in smiling with Helena's scans and said, "Remission," the world shrank to the exact size of their 3-person hug. They stumbled out of the hospital dizzy with joy, like people relearning to walk. On the way, Mateus saw in a stationery shop window an old wall clock frozen at 4:22 and laughed to himself. Destiny has a sense of humor. At the celebration, Bea raised a toast with grape juice. "To the most stubborn mom on the planet," she said. "To my dad, who learned to stay. And to the minute we saved, without knowing we were saving it." Mateus looked up at the sky, closed his eyes, and silently thanked the Registry of Time, the father who stayed the memory that had been tithed to make room for new ones, the courage to ask for help, the words that fit inside a minute, and make miracles where miracles don't fit. If you ever pass downtown and find a door with a bell that rings at the exact time of your scar, don't be afraid. Maybe it's just a stationery store with dead batteries in the clocks. Maybe it's the registry opening for someone who needs it. But even if you never find it, carry in your wallet the invisible stamp Mateus learned to use, presence. It works without a counter, without a form, without a fee. Just place it in the world when someone is on the edge of leaving on the inside. And if some clerk of destiny asks which clause you accept, answer with the only one that matters. "I don't know, but I'll stay." Because sometimes the minute that changes everything isn't the one you go back to fix. It's the one you refuse to abandon.